Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial, we are going to make one of these Glamour Tribe custom inspired tumblers. Susanna Renaud is the incredibly talented owner of Glamour Tribe, and she has also collaborated with Southern Belle Glitter to create some transfers to help you recreate or create some of your own work inspired by her. This set of 26 sheets is incredible. It has so many floral sheets, and y'all know I love my florals. You will find these transfers at southernbelleglitter.com in categorized packs of 3, like there's the bright colors pack, a red pack, boho, and it goes on, or you can get them all in a set of 26 sheets. We are going to be using a 24-ounce plump from the Still Magnolia, and I'm so excited to show you this new attachment that I got also from the Still Magnolia. They have these extra small chucks, and they also have in other sizes from Craft Crate on their website, and they twist into the top with the threads of the tumbler, and you just pop your arm right in, and it's not going anywhere. So no more foams for me, no more pool noodles. I'm super excited about these. Okay, moving on. So we are going to do 2 different tutorials, as you could probably see by the part 1 on the cover. And the 2 tumblers are incredibly similar. They're just different color themes. However, I do use a lot of products. And in the past, when I have done a couple tumblers in a tutorial, even if they are pretty like in design, I've had some comments saying it's a little confusing to do multiple tumblers at once. So I split it up into 2 tutorials for y'all. We are using a all over makeup brush. This is the e.l.f. brand, and our black and navy Colorfix paints to get the perfect deep blue for our design. I'm using about a milliliter of the ARTISTRY 1:1 ratio fast set epoxy. I put way too much on it first and had to scrape some off. But using this 1:1 ratio fast set epoxy allows me to go in with my first coat of epoxy over top of that glitter in about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on your environment. So it's incredibly helpful getting my tutorials ready, and of course, if I were to be making custom tumblers, it would definitely be a big help to be able to go into that first step after applying my glitter very quickly. We're going to ombre this out from the center, and this first glitter we are using is Starry Night from PDB Creative Studio. I want a very, very good blend here, so I am holding the tumbler almost at a 90-degree angle, and I'm keeping the bottle of glitter close to the center of the tumbler while allowing it to just fall to the edges. Next, we are going to go in with Deep Blue Sea from Colorflex. I'm going to go heavy around that bottom and the bottom rim, heavy around the top rim, and then once again hold it at an angle and just dump that glitter on. If we have that initial glitter really good as far as our ombre goes, then we can pretty much just dump our second glitter on and have a really awesome ombre. There wasn't a huge difference in the darkness or lightness of these 2 glitters, but it's just enough to notice on the tumbler and give it a little extra effect rather than just using one solid color. I'm going to roll this up in a piece of printer paper. You can also use parchment paper. Flatten that glitter down, and I gave it 2 coats of epoxy so that we can have a nice and smooth surface to apply our transfers to. The rub-on transfer that we are using is of course part of the full collection 26 pack, but you can also grab it in a smaller Glamour Tribe purple florals pack. If you haven't used rub-on transfers before, or if you need some help knowing exactly how to use and apply them, I have a very detailed tutorial that is just called How to Use Rub-On Transfers that may be really helpful to you in nailing a perfect application. I'm just going to trim out around the transfer that I'm going to use, and we are going to use the hinge method to apply this. That is the best way to apply your transfers because you don't want them to stick before you are ready to rub them down. So once I have the placement correct on my tumbler, I'm going to cut a little slither off of the backing. That way I can press it down once I have my placement. Each transfer pack comes with this wooden tool. You're going to start at that exposed spot and just rub back and forth, giving a little bit of pressure to rub these transfers down onto the surface. You want to make sure that you are taking your time on this. This tutorial and most of the footage in here is sped up double time. If I didn't do that, my tutorials would be crazy long because I do take a lot of time with my designs just to try to avoid making as many mistakes as possible. So just take your wooden stick and go back and forth, making sure you are not missing in a spot so that you get the entire transfer pressed down. And as you can see, the backing just slid off as I was working my way around. You cannot remove these once they are placed down, so be very careful in your placement and make sure that you keep that backing on there until you are ready to press them down. You're going to hold one side with your hand while sort of pulling just ever so slightly with the other hand away from the transfer and up towards you. I hope that makes sense. Like I said, I do have a tutorial that shows you how to do these and gives you a really nice breakdown so that you can have successful application. You want to make sure that you put these over a glossy surface and not a sanded surface. If you put them over sanded, those sand marks will show through around the border of your transfer, and underneath you will be able to see the dullness. So make sure you put them on a glossy surface, and then just take a matte clear spray paint and lightly go over them. Allow that to dry before you go into your epoxy. Now for this one, I am going to move straight into adding on my leopard spots. You can add on that coat of epoxy if you want a little bit of a barrier in between your rub-on transfers and either your decals or however you apply your leopard spots, if you even add them. Because you do not want your transfer tape to touch your rub-on transfer. It can pull it off in sections and then you'll have to remove the whole thing and that transfer will be gone. So for my leopard spots, I have used the double-sided adhesive from Artistry Epoxy, which they call Shape Tape, and I have just cut it on the iron-on setting. You can get away with cutting it on the Vinyl Plus if you have a new blade, but my blade definitely needs to be changed, so I used the iron-on setting to cut through that top protective layer and the sticky layer, but not that backing. This leopard file is from Creative Fabrica, and I'll have it linked down below for y'all. It has some cute little hearts in it in addition to all of the leopard spots, so I thought it just played really nicely with our little floral cluster. Now, any time that you are applying some spots or any sort of detail on top of an already epoxied tumbler, as we have here, you want to make sure you apply a coat of matte clear spray paint before doing your spot glitter. Having a matte surface before you apply your spot glitter on will allow that glitter to just fall right off of the tumbler, especially when you go over it and just brush off the excess. If you don't and you are doing spot glitter on top of a glossy surface, you're going to have glitter specks that stick everywhere all over your tumbler. So do not skip the spray sealing with a matte clear coat before you add on your spots. Now, I chose to add these on individually rather than using the transfer tape. I did attempt to use the transfer tape in the beginning of, or when I first started adding these on, but I was sort of scared that I was going to touch my rub-on transfer with the transfer tape. So I just went back to adding these on with my little weeding tool one by one. If you wanted to make this a lot quicker and use transfer tape, just take your transfer tape and stick it to your clothing, the desk, or something to remove some of the stickiness from it. And make sure that you have a layer of epoxy in between your rub-on transfer and adding on your spots. That way your transfer is completely protected and there's no chance of you grabbing a hold of any portion of it with a transfer tape and pulling it up. Once I have all of my spots applied, I'm going to go over the entire tumbler and remove that protective paper layer that is on top to expose the double-sided adhesive, or at least the top portion of it. For our leopard spot glitter, we are going to use It's My Party Extra Fine Cut from PDB Creative Studio. This is a really pretty pink purpley mix, and it just matched those florals to a T. So I just sprinkled that all over, and then I'm going to go in, avoiding the transfer once again, and just rub that glitter into those double-sided adhesive spots. And then I'll just take a cheap chip brush and brush off all of that excess glitter, and then this is ready to seal with another coat of matte clear spray paint. The Artistry Fast Set, the 1-to-1 ratio, is a thick viscosity epoxy, so it does give me really excellent coverage on that initial coat. You may need 2 coats of epoxy depending on the thickness of the epoxy that you are using. Give this a nice good level sand to even out all of those spots, and finish it off with a final coat of epoxy. I love how this one turned out. The spots just show up enough to blend everything together so perfectly, and it just pulls the entire design together. Before you add on that final coat of epoxy is when you could add on a name or a phrase with your vinyl, if that's what you choose. I'm actually making these for my grandmother's incredible nurses, so I will be adding both of their names to the back of these tumblers. If you want to see how we made the other tumbler pictured at the end of this tutorial, don't forget to check out part 2. It will be posted very soon. All of the materials that I used will be listed in the description below, as well as some coupons codes for y'all. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell in the corner to be notified anytime a new tutorial drops. That is all for today. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you next time.